welcome back to Podcast 129. It is March Madness edition with a few extra faces. I know my boy Jake down there is extra excited. We got Tyler back full time. Here we go. And special guest, Mr. Nick, down there on my screen. It's the bottom right. Hope you boys are doing good. How we doing?
Good, man. Ready to roll. Excited to be back. New face. Certified ball knower right here, Hunter. I think you're gonna be surprised. He's basically what's his name? John Rothstein of college basketball. This is him. So
hey man, I'm in a text
excited
chat.
for the knowledge.
I'm in a text chat with him, so like he knows ball.
He knows ball.
Thank you guys for having me. Looking forward to it. Should be fun.
Professional ball knower Nick down there. Not gonna try and pronounce the last name. I'll mess it up. So give us one test run. Go.
Nick Pochia. There you go. Pochia.
Sticking with Nick. All right.
Yeah, it's Italian. It's
Hunter, you still don't even say my last name right.
Stinchcomb.
Stinchcomb.
Same thing. We got brackets, paper brackets right here. I've got a pen and pencil because some of this stuff is subject to change, but that's the beauty of March. All right, fellas. Without further ado, we got a lot to get into, so we're going to just jump right into it here. Here we go. Jake, tell them about our social media we got.
So here's our social media handles. We do not post on these, but if we get a lot of followers and get an itch to get on there, we might get the X active during March. That might be a good idea. That might be a good idea. You can find this episode on YouTube. I guess by now it's almost been like 6-7 months. I've been working on getting the TikTok up and running. Yeah, that's not happening. I got too much going on. Then we got an Instagram. Go follow us. And with that, it is now time for a new segment. Not first and 10. It's basketball season. It's March. The starting five. So I have 5 starting off questions for you guys. I guess we'll do first 2 answers. I guess we can do that. Y'all can answer together. I don't really care. So we're going to start off. First one is, which team holds the record for the most national championships with 11?
LA.
Tyler? Well, each person can get a guess. We'll do that, and then I'll tell you all.
I want to say it's Kansas.
Okay. Nick?
No, Kansas.
Ooh. I'm going to say, let's go UCLA.
It is UCLA with 11.
All right.
Good job, boys.
Good guess.
Yep. I was actually surprised by that. I knew they had a good bit.
I was just thinking
they would be.
Like Bill Walton and all that. I don't know. I just always think like old college basketball. I think Bill Walton, UCLA.
John Wooden, man. He won like 7 in a row.
John Wooden, yeah. Good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
Number 2, who is the only coach in history to win a national championship at 2 different schools? One in Natty at 2 different schools. We'll start opposite this time. Nick, you can go first.
Is it Roy Williams?
Is that your guess?
Yeah, I'm going to guess Roy.
All right, Tyler?
I'm going to go Rick Pitino, but one got vacated, so I don't know.
Okay. Hunter?
I don't give a crap if it's considered vacated or not. It's Rick Pitino.
It is Rick Pitino. Bonus. I thought Nick would get that. The Godfather. That's your boy, Nick.
No, I wouldn't have, to be honest. No.
Kentucky and Louisville.
Yep.
Number 3. So we got everybody's on the board now. Tyler's got 1. Hunter's got 2. Number 3. Should be an easy one. Can you name the matchup when the last time a 16 seed beat a 1 seed? We'll start with Tyler and then go Nick and then Hunter.
It was UMBC versus Virginia, wasn't it?
I mean, I can't tell you. Is that your guess?
That's my guess.
Okay. Nick?
It's Fairleigh Dickinson and Purdue.
Yeah, no, Nick's correct. It's when
Nick's got it. I like the confidence though, Tyler. It made me think. I was like, maybe I'm wrong, but
yeah, that's on me.
When was that?
2022.
2022?
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about when. Or that's when Virginia got beat?
No, that was 2018, 19.
Yeah, I was about to say it's a little bit earlier. Yeah.
So that was the year before they won it.
It was
Yeah.
18, yeah.
What Villanova player famously hit the game-winning shot in 2016 to beat UNC in the national championship? Hunter, we'll start with you.
I'll go with one Chris Jenkins.
Tyler, I think everybody's got that. Yeah. Once one person guesses, it's like, what the hell? All right, last one. This is a good one. What team owns the longest active streak of NCAA tournament appearances? And the streak is 27. We can get y'all can just blurt it out, whatever you got.
Gonzaga.
I was thinking Gonzaga.
Nick?
I'm gonna zag a little bit. I'm gonna say Kansas. I'm going with the Jayhawks.
Wait, is it Michigan State?
It is Michigan State. 27 straight appearances. I'm pretty sure those were the top three, though. Pretty sure it was Kansas.
Gonzaga I know they have at least 26, and I'm going to be honest, you just missaid the stat. Like, that's the only reason I guessed. I was like, it definitely means 26. But no, you were right.
Wait, what?
So I know for a fact that Gonzaga has 26 straight. So when you were reading it, I thought you meant to say 26, but you said 27. But you could be right.
It is 27. That's right.
No, you're right. I'm just saying, in my head, I thought he meant 26 because I know that's
okay. Yes. But yes, it is Michigan State. So good job, fellas. Good call, Tyler.
on the board.
Yeah, that's starting five for you today, everybody.
All right, guys. Well, let's start. Before we start filling out the brackets, I figured it would be good to talk about some. Oh, Jake's gone.
No, I think his camera's just off.
I'm good.
Oh, okay. Good. Okay.
All good.
Well, before we start filling out brackets, putting pen on paper, I figured it'd be good to, dive into some teams, maybe some under the radar teams, maybe some teams that are, a 4 seed or a little bit higher in that 4 to 8 range, 4 to 7 range that, you blink your eyes. It's like, oh my gosh, this team's one game away from the Final Four. And now the teams I'm showing on the slides, these are just a few examples that I pulled from the bracket. Obviously, you have free range to say whatever you want. I'm just, trying to make it look good. But we'll start with ball knower Nick. Who are some under the radar teams? Obviously, like I said, doesn't have to be on the screen that you point your finger to on this bracket. Like, gosh, this 5 seed might make a little bit of run to the Elite 8.
Yeah, I think you got a couple of good ones on screen. I know one team we've talked about a lot this season, being Missouri. Obviously, got to see them in person. I believe me and Jake, I think, were at that game, right? The Mizzou game at home at UGA. So we got to see them in action a little bit in person. High-powered offense, great coaching job, big turnaround. You got to remember this team was 0-19 in conference play last year, and then turned into one of the best teams in the SEC. Super competitive, high-powered offense. A little bit of a tough draw if they were to advance on. Eventually going to probably match up with a Texas Tech team that I like a lot. So I think that's a little bit of a tough matchup for them. May kind of limit how much room they have to run. But I think if they get through that game, they're a super dangerous team. Kansas, I know we got Kansas up there. Have a little bit of trouble placing too much faith in them. But again, when you talk about an elite coach like Bill Self, who has obviously national championship experience, a great player like Hunter Dickinson, that's obviously a team you have to keep your eye on. And then, sorry, you got a lot of good ones up there. I'm going with a lot of the ones on the screen. But just one more for you. Illinois, definitely some struggles defensively. They don't play a ton of defense. In fact, I heard one analyst on CBS today claim that they play no defense. So that's definitely not a great thing to hear about a team that you want to make a run. But Offensively, I think this team is excellent. Would eventually probably move into a matchup with Kentucky, which I think would be an absolute barn burner, and kind of similar to a lot of these SEC teams like a Kentucky, an Alabama, a Mizzou could put a ton of points on the board. So I think with a team like that just has the potential to get rolling, put up a ton of points at any given time, they're super dangerous in March. So those would be a couple, kind of just based on what you've shown here, that I think definitely have some potential to make a run and be dangerous.
Jake?
No, everything Nick said is spot on. I'll touch a little bit on Baylor. VJ Edgecombe, he's one of the best scorers in the country right now. I like them a lot. It does suck that they are a 9. I do think they're going to beat Mississippi State in the first round, which I'm very excited. That's one of the kind of the under the radar games for me in the first round. I don't know if a lot of people are talking about it as much as some of the other ones, but I think that's going to be a great game. That's a good matchup with Hubbard, the guard that Mississippi State has, and both teams can score. And the unfortunate thing about it is it doesn't really matter who wins because the winner's going to have to play Duke. A little bit on Illinois. I mean, like Nick said, Illinois does not play any defense. They are literally terrible. And I think assuming Texas wins tomorrow, I think Texas beats them in the first round because that's the matchup, right? It'll be the winner of Texas Xavier. Yeah. What's the kid's name? I'm having a brain fart on Texas, who's balling right now. Not Fears. That's Oklahoma.
Green?
No.
Trey Johnson.
Is it Johnson?
I think so.
Maybe. But anyways, the kid on Texas, I'll look him up after I'm done. But I think he'll drop 30 in that game and beat Illinois in the first round. I think Texas is under the radar team. Who else did Nick touch? Gonzaga. I saw this today. Did y'all know that Gonzaga is like 8th in KenPom?
Crazy.
And could potentially match up with Houston in the second round. And if you look at, according to KenPom, they're not that far off. They're really not. And I'm interested to see what the number will be on a neutral site. I don't know if FanDuel has like hypothetical lines like they did for the college football playoff, but I'm very interested to see the line on a neutral site because Gonzaga can score and Houston can too, but they really lean on their defense. I just think that will be a great coaching matchup, a good matchup to see. And I think Gonzaga, it's not going to be that much. I mean, that much of a talent gap there. So Gonzaga, I like them a lot. So yeah, that's all I got. Kansas, Arkansas, hell of a coaching matchup. Arkansas, Boogie Flan, he is healthy, I believe I read today, and he will be playing. So that's something to look out for. 2 good teams playing, and then they'll match up against St. John's, right? Yeah. Assuming Omaha doesn't beat them. So, yeah, that's what I got under the radar.
One thing to point out before I let Tyler go here, Mark Few's never not made a Sweet 16 at Gonzaga.
Yeah.
Wow.
Interesting.
At this point, it's like 11 straight, right?
At
this point,
so.
You got to bet that, man. Got to find a line on that.
Tyler, give me some teams that you saw in your bracket. You're like, wow, this team opened my eyes, and they got a good shot.
Yes, I know we've mentioned Gonzaga already, but I just think that their side of the bracket's a little weaker. They have not as bad of a path to the Sweet 16 as some other teams do. So I think that they have they've got a chance of going under the radar and making it there. Marquette, I think they're a solid team. They're always going to be good in March. I think they're always going to be contenders. And when Cam Jones is in the game, you've got a chance. I think he's one of the better players really in the country, just off of pure talent. I think he's a dog. I think he can take us somewhere. So I like Marquette. They don't have a too terrible of a path. Beating Michigan State would be their biggest thing, but I think they can. And then they play the winner of Ole Miss and Iowa State, from what I have, and I think that they have a real legitimate shot at making the Elite Eight there. Then my last one is going to be UConn. Simple as they've won 2 straight. They want 3. So I think if they get hot, they're going to be a dangerous team because they're hungry.
Good deal, man. I like all that. Just like 2 things I was really thinking about when looking at some of these. I just look for like coaches who they win in March, regardless of the situation. Like I feel like when Tom Izzo is an 8 seed or a 10 seed, like you still find a way for Michigan State to be in the Sweet 16, Elite 8 rounds. So I think about that with Mark Few at Gonzaga, John Calipari at Arkansas, Bill Self at Kansas, and even Mick Cronin at UCLA. Like we saw UCLA go from last team into the Final Four. It was a buzzer beater away from Jalen Suggs for the national championship. Like, Nick Cronin's going to get his guys right. Another thing I find funny when looking at some of these things are like the teams that, you pick against in the first round, like, oh, this team's going to get upset by, a seed that might not be like let's say, for example, like Mizzou, they're playing 11 seed Drake. It's like, oh, Drake's a very hot pick right now. And it's like, oh, I picked Drake to the Sweet 16. It's like, oh, yeah, picked against them in the Elite Eight right now. So that's why I put teams like Missouri. I've seen a lot of VCU over BYU, and BYU's a team that, man, they can pull up from 15 foot behind the arc, all four of them. And that, like, when they're on, they're on. So just things that I'm looking at as far as looking at under the radar teams. And then I'll kind of go on St. Mary's here. I know they're playing Vandy, and Vandy's probably going to be a pretty popular 10 seed pick there. But St. Mary's beat Gonzaga twice in the regular season. They've won the conference back-to-back years, and they have back-to-back player of the year in the conference. So just something to look out for when thinking about that game in particular. And now for everybody's favorite segment when we're talking.
I got one more we didn't talk about. Sorry. I apologize. While we're I don't know. I mean, you can count them as an under the radar. There are 6. Ole Miss. And talking about coaches who win in March, I learned this. Chris Beard's 11-5 in NCAA tournament. He had that Final Four run with Texas Tech back in 2020, 19. It was like 21. Right before COVID. 21.
Oh no, 19.
19. Yeah, it was the year before COVID. They're an experienced coach who's been there, and they're one of the most experienced teams with seniors across the board. And if you've never seen the face of what a March Madness legend looks like, go look up Sean Padua, because you're going to know his name over the next few weeks. And let me tell you, if they play the winner of San Diego State and then North Carolina, who's playing right now, which that's ugly. North Carolina's up 28 points. North Carolina, one of the teams everybody's been talking about the past few days, if they get past that round, they're going to match up with Iowa State, who has felt just completely fallen apart. They're banged up. Everybody's hurt. And then at that point, get to the Sweet 16, you have Michigan State, which that's tough. And then my philosophy is upset Michigan State, you get to Auburn, right? It's hard to beat a team 3 times in a year. It's only been like, 2.5 months apart. It's hard to do that, which Auburn's good. But they're one of those teams, veterans, veteran coach. I think Ole Miss is a really good under the radar team to watch going in the tournament.
I like that a lot, Jake. That's a lot of key points that you just brought up. Definitely a sleeper team. Definitely.
Yeah.
All right. So everybody's favorite part about March Madness, the upsets, the Cinderellas. Who are these higher seeds, these very small schools who just somehow make a run, and it's like, holy crap, this team might be playing first shot in the third weekend. Or I guess the second weekend, the Sweet 16, the Elite Eight. But who can get past the first weekend out of this group? I'll just hit on a few that are on the screen, and I'll let you guys take it away. I won't really go outside and say I'm picking this team. But UC San Diego, 31-3 or 30-4 this year. Unbelievable season. First year in D1, single A, obviously coming up from the FCS, or I guess from straight up Division 2. And they've been on a tear. They got a lot of great guys, forced a lot of turnovers. And I honestly think that's why the line is so small for the Michigan game, just due to the fact that you look at Michigan's turnover rate, you look at how well San Diego does cause turnovers, doesn't turn the ball over respectively on offense. So I don't really think that's a 12-5 trap line. I think that might be a little bit of genuine. I think the turnover rate has a lot to do with that. Drake, another team with 30 wins this year. Those 2 teams I'm hitting on right now, 2 of 6 teams to win 30 games this year. The others being like Duke, Florida, and Auburn. So Drake, obviously, great pick, popular pick, I should say, rather. 11 seed facing Mizzou. A bunch of D2 guys. Ben McCollum is getting rumored around for a lot of these bigger job openings coming up right now. So a team to look at. I know a lot of people have picked Drake in the past, like, gosh, they fail me every year. They come up just short. Well, this is a completely different team with a completely different coach. This isn't DeVries, and this team plays very, very slow, and Mizzou plays really, really fast. So I think it comes down to who can control the tempo in that game. Then we got VCU, who can just suffocate you defensively. Played a really great conference tournament there in the A-10. We got High Point out of the Big Sky, or the Big South Conference rather, out of North Carolina. Shoots a lot of threes. I just don't think that they choose to rebound the ball very well. Like, it's like, all right, well, who's pulling up from three this time? But man, when they're on, they can shoot. We got McNeese and Will Wade. Obviously, everybody knows who Will Wade is, former LSU coach with Ben Simmons, made a few tournament runs at LSU. Not something you hear about a lot with the men's basketball program there. And this team is unbelievable. I think he's lost a combined 7 games in 2 years there at McNeese. So they have I'd say a tough draw in Clemson, honestly. Honestly, on the under the radar, I can't believe I didn't bring them up. I meant to. I think Clemson, with the experience and the coaching, that like you could blink your eyes like, holy crap, 5 seed Clemson, Elite 8 right now. They're playing Houston. And then you got GCU, Grand Canyon. They beat Arizona last year, 13 seed. The Lopes, man, they're a great team. I watched them play in I think it was the WAC Conference Championship, beat Utah Valley. They're a pretty good team, fast, but once again, just lack size. They pretty much are playing 2 4s at the 4 and 5, but another team, man, like it doesn't matter. If the ball's going in the hoop that day, it's going in. So those are some some Cinderellas I put on the screen personally, but if you guys would like to dive deeper into any of those teams or have any other ones circled, go ahead and share your thoughts.
I'll start real quick. One thing about McNeese for me, 2 words. I don't know if y'all know him. Amir Khan. Have y'all seen this guy? The manager?
Yeah, I was going to touch on this.
We got to get him. We got to get him like an Elite 8 appearance. That would be awesome. This guy is electric. Other than that, I don't know much about McNeese, but I've seen him all over my TikTok just hyping up the team. And he just got an NIL deal. Did y'all see that? Pretty sick, man. Yeah, I think it's Buffalo Wild Wings, maybe. I don't know. But he did get an NIL deal. I know that. But yeah, Clemson, they're also Hunter was talking about how strong of a 5 seed they are. I think their conference record this year in the ACC, which I know the ACC has had a down year, they were 15-2 in the ACC. Pretty impressive. And I'm pretty sure one of those wins were Duke at home, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it was Duke's only conference loss.
Do what?
I think it was Duke's only conference loss, potentially.
Yeah. But anyways, we're talking about Cinderellas. My Cinderella that I want to talk about was Grand Canyon. This year I've watched a ton of Grand Canyon basketball because Hunter and Nick can attest to this. I am up at 11 o'clock talking to Hunter and Nick what games we're going to have action on, and Grand Canyon are one of those teams out west that they're always on at 11 o'clock on a random Wednesday night. So Tylen Grant Foster, a senior guard. I also liked this team last year too. When they got to the round of 32, it's their 4th straight appearance under Bryce Drew. They're another one of those very experienced teams. They're 7-man rotation, 5 seniors, a junior, and a sophomore. I mean, that's pretty good. I'm big, if you can't tell already, I'm big in March about good guard play and experienced teams. I mean, I guess everybody is, but that's what I like to look at when I'm like picking my perfect bracket that I have this year that's already perfect. Tylen Grant Foster, he's healthy. He's actually battled injury. And last year in the tournament, he put up 22 and 29 against St. Mary's in Alabama. And they're a team that likes to play fast and get to the free throw line. They rank 7th nationally in free throw attempt rate. And I'll get into more of their matchup when we go through the bracket. But I like them to beat Maryland and eventually go to the Sweet 16. I think it stops there. Maryland has some depth issues. I think they only played with like 7 in the Big Ten tournament, and they have some injuries going on. Grand Canyon plays fast and get to the line and get some of Maryland's guys in foul trouble. I think they're going to win this game. I think they're like 10.5-point dogs too, so I will be on that. And that's my biggest Cinderella I got. I think I have VCU advancing to the Sweet 16 as well. I like them. Got to watch their conference tournament a little bit. So, yeah, that's what I have on Cinderella's. Tyler and Nick, y'all can take it away from there.
Yeah, just hitting on a couple of points that you guys hit on already. VCU, I know we mentioned that matchup with BYU. I think that's going to be an exciting matchup because, like you guys mentioned, really excellent defensive team in VCU against a really excellent offensive team in BYU. So it's kind of strength on strength. I think VCU can win that game outright and hang. And like you mentioned, Jake, I really like the winner of that game, BYU or VCU. I think either of those teams are super live to make a little bit of a run. one we touched on a little bit. High Point, kind of an interesting team, just because it's like, I don't want to say a weird school, but it's a little bit of like a random school. I think kind of a lot of money has been pumped into the university within the last decade, and just bringing more students to campus. So they're really trying to kind of, I think Canyon's done something a little bit similar, really make basketball kind of central to the product of the school. You could even watch on ESPN the other day, just the place was rocking when they announced the seed for the team. And another interesting fact, maybe I get the date wrong, but I think they haven't lost since like January 16th. It's some weird,
they're on like some 12 or 13 game win streak right now. If you're talking about Grand Canyon. Yeah.
I think High Point as well, some weird date, maybe I have my facts wrong, but they a super high powered offensive team. I think this is going to be a very high scoring affair with Purdue. And then not to say that I don't think Purdue's motivated, but they're in a different spot than they were last year. You had a team built around Zach Edey that went to the national championship, was in it to the very end. This is a different team with different expectations, and I think this is going to be a really motivated High Point squad to hang in this game, and then who knows, potentially win it. One more last one we didn't mention. Yale. I feel like Yale in March is just like this perennial thing. Obviously, a huge win against Auburn last year. I think they're super live in that game against A&M, who's had some offensive struggles as of late. Yale is pretty big, pretty physical, and I think also pretty interesting that like the spread on that game is like 6.5 points, which you wouldn't really think of like a 4 versus 13 matchup. You maybe would think of that in an 11-6 or a 12-5 if you compare that to like Arizona's a huge favorite on the 4 line against Akron, I believe. So just keep an eye on that game and keep an eye on Yale, as you always have to with the Ivy League champion in March.
Yeah, going off of that, Yale was one of my picks. They shoot the ball really well. They're a good offensive team. They rebound it well. I think they're very much in the game against Texas A&M. I know that we've already touched on UC San Diego, but I think that they can beat Michigan. I think that they're a very good team, very under the radar team. This is their first year that they're eligible for March Madness, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, I mean, hey, why not now? If both of those teams win, they play each other in round of 32, which is an absolute toss-up, and one of them would be in the Sweet 16 there. So, unfortunately, they would play Auburn. But I think that both of those teams can make a run very easily. Going back to McNeese, the manager, when's the last time we had a –
Mir Khan.
Whatever his name is. When's the last time we had a kind of a team have somebody in their program that went a little viral? Loyola Chicago. What happened with them? With Sister Jean. So maybe this is McNeese's Sister Jean moment. So kind of excited to see what can happen there. One that I don't think has been mentioned yet, Colorado State.
Yes.
They're very
I'm glad you got it.
Winners of 10 straight. I think Memphis is not playing great basketball at the moment. They kind of struggled in the American Championship for a little bit there. So I think that they're primed to kind of take that step, and they can go deep. I mean, I think they would have trouble playing the winner of the Maryland Grand Canyon game, especially if it was Maryland, but who knows? It's March. So I think Colorado State, they're into too.
And I'm glad you brought up Colorado State. I actually picked them to win the Mountain West Championship. Everybody said they couldn't. They wrote them off. They had to win 3 games in 3 days to be here. They're the hottest team in the country right now. Nate Clifford, just to give you his 3-game stat line in the Mountain West Championship. Let me tell you his stat line. Game 1, 25-14-4. Game 2, 26-11-6. Game 3 in the championships, 24-6-3. This kid can ball. He's a senior. And the rest of their guys, they're just young and gritty. I think he's like the only senior in the starting 5. Everybody else is sophomores and freshmen. And they battled each and every day. They are seriously one of the hottest teams in the country and literally backs against the wall. I don't think they would have made it if they didn't win the Mountain West. They're a team, and like Tyler said, Memphis is not playing very well right now. And I got to watch them. For some reason, how it worked out, I watched them a little bit more down the stretch leading up to the conference tournaments and everything. It seems like they know that they're good, but they kind of just come in and like, hey, we know we're going to win the conference, and we're just kind of going to play down to our competition. So I would not be surprised if Memphis showed up and got rattled off a few wins, but they kind of just come in with that mentality of, all right, we're here, we're favored, we're going to win. I really like Colorado State. I'm glad you brought that up, Tyler.
those are all really, really good. Good analysis, boys. Good job. Good job. All right.
Did the Dogs count as Cinderella? Even though we're gonna get beat by like 25.
No, I feel like you have to be at least a 12 seed. I'm sorry.
If we make it to the Sweet 16, we're Cinderella.
You could have put them at the under the radar if you wanted to.
No, if we beat Gonzaga, put us as a Cinderella.
Bro, they're a 9 seed. It's not that deep.
But it's Gonzaga, bro. Come on.
National championship long shots. I cut out like the top 9 on here. And if y'all have somebody off this list, y'all are just donating money. Give that to a charity, please. Anyways, these are like the national championship odds. I believe this is 12. Maybe this is number 9. I can't remember all the way. Creighton is plus 26,000. I'll go first. I'll just pick out a few like people who like you just I don't even know why. I guess Gonzaga, Iowa State, obviously. Like I'm kind of doing away with Iowa State and Arizona because they kind of meet the KenPom metrics. But I was going to go with and they're also 3 and a 4 seed. So I'll go Gonzaga for an 8 seed. Maryland's not deep enough for me. I like Wisconsin, but they're also a 3 seed. Clemson, they could make a Final Four. I wouldn't be surprised. A&M maybe. I'm not really dead set on anybody on this list. I'm not going to go anywhere below besides Kansas. Kansas is like where I'm going to really, or UConn maybe, but like those are the only 2 teams just based off like coaching and legacy, I guess. But they're called long shots for a reason. I'd love to hear the Jake Stinchcomb analysis on this. I can't wait.
I am actually very surprised at Iowa State. I thought they would be way longer odds than that. I mean, I've always liked Iowa State in March the past few years with TJ Cheeseburger, their coach. But, I mean, they have not been playing well. Lipsey's one of my favorite players in college right now. He's hurt. The 6th man that comes off the bench, he's hurt. They are very banged up right now, and I'm surprised that those odds are that short. One future that I placed way early in the year, I'm surprised these are so long, man. Michigan. I think Hunter and Nick, y'all both know I was very high on Michigan earlier in the year, and they did just win the Big Ten tournament. They're very hot. I'm just very set on the 2 7-footers, and you got a guard that can handle the ball, and you play slow. You can win any game that you're in with that squad. Truly, I mean, I know they're in the bracket with Michigan State and Auburn. I believe I could be wrong. I think that's right. But still, Michigan, I have them. I thought I got them at a good number back in December at plus 5,000. But obviously I did not. So that's one that I like just because with that height and the size they have and their guard play, I think they really could rattle off a few wins. But everybody's picking who is it? UC San Diego to beat them in the first round. 3.5 point favorites, and I think it's down more now. Right?
2.5 now, yeah.
Yeah, that's insane. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on. That scares me. But yeah, some of these odds, I mean, how does Creighton have – I guess it's based on matchup. I mean, Creighton will have to play Auburn in round 2. But, yeah, very interesting to see all these long shots. Anybody else?
I'll go. Maryland is a really good team, but they're pretty young. But their young guys can play really well.
Depth.
Yeah, they got a lot of depth there. So
no, they have no depth.
No depth.
They have no depth.
None.
They're starting 5 plays like the entirety of the game, led by Miss Dairy Queen herself.
Well, I still think they're a good team.
No, they are good.
So we'll see what happens there. Arizona, don't let them get hot. They're a good team, and they're always a good basketball team. So that's a team you can't let get hot. And I think BYU is really good at a 6 seed. So I'm kind of excited to see if they can make a little run here. Because I don't think they're completely out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just to piggyback off a couple of those, Maryland, I would agree with Tyler on that. I think that team's talented. Obviously, you mentioned the depth issues. Dairy Queen's a really excellent player. I think the tricky thing with them, just as far as kind of where they landed in the bracket, not to be too reliant on like the KenPom metrics and stuff like that, but they are a top 10 KenPom team. They easily could have been on the 3 line. Being on the 4 line now, you're likely to draw that Florida matchup in the Sweet 16, which is a super tricky one, but it feels like every year you kind of have a 1 seed fall out in that Sweet 16 range. It does happen. Obviously, Florida has been playing outstanding basketball, but if they do win that game, or if they hang in that game, who knows from there, right? So that's just going to be a super pivotal matchup. Another team kind of in that same sort of situation, I would say, is Arizona. Caleb Love, obviously, feels inconsistent when I watch them, or at least maybe when I have some action on Arizona, but super talented player, experience in the NCAA tournament. Similar sort of thing. If they end up with kind of that Duke matchup eventually, that's going to be a super challenging game for them. But again, who knows? So I would just say those two teams are super talented, probably, top 12 to 15 teams in the country just as far as talent. Where they are in the bracket, I think just makes some longer shots than probably how talented the team actually is. But it's March, anything can happen. So I would just keep an eye on those teams if they are able to make a little bit of a run past the Sweet 16.
I like it. All right, guys. Well, without further ado, it's time to start putting some pen to paper. But before we do that, let's just kind of go region. We're going to go region by region here. Is there any particular matchup that might stick out to y'all in this region that you're most excited for, or you're like, oh, under the radar, you got to watch this one? I'll go first. Mine's the typical 8-9 matchup, but I think Louisville-Creighton. It's going to be the first game on Thursday. It's in Kentucky. And I think this is going to be a barn burner. Louisville should not be an 8 seed. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Yeah.
They should be a 5 seed, a 6 at the lowest, and they got screwed. Pat Kelsey's done a great job there in year one with Chucky Hepburn and Terrence Edwards, but also, I mean, McDermott.
Both of these teams coming off losses too in their respective tournaments. That's another interesting.
McDermott and Creighton. Man, I just, it's hard to fade McDermott in March. He always puts together a great squad. You got Cockburner and is it Alexander? Is that the other guy's name? I can't remember. But always going to have a good squad. So I that's the one I'm most interested in. Also going to be interested to see, hey, what's the score of that North Carolina game? Are they gonna win?
Oh yeah, they're up like 40. It's commercial right now, but they're
okay. Yeah, Ole Miss, North Carolina. I think that's going to be a good game as well. Those were the two that mainly stuck out to me. Obviously, we've already hinted on UC San Diego, Michigan as well. But is there anything else that y'all would like to add? Maybe a team or coaching matchup, whatever it might be.
I like the Louisville-Creighton matchup as well. Kalkbrenner, and you're talking about McDermott and Louisville. Both of these teams coming off conference championship losses. And the Ole Miss one, like you said, that's another good one. I know I talked about that a minute ago, but apparently either UNC's really hot or San Diego State sucks. But San Diego State, if you score 60 points, you're going to beat them. They cannot score; they just win on their defense. So we'll see on that one. I like Marquette, New Mexico. That's been a popular one. You got Donovan Dent and Cam Jones. It's going to be fun to watch them go back and forth. Both of those guys will put up a lot of points. So, yeah, I'm excited.
Nick?
Yeah, I would agree on all those you guys said, but also I know I mentioned Yale before. I keep an eye on that A&M Yale game. I think that's got a chance to be a good one. And then also I know we mentioned that UCSD Michigan game. I would anticipate that to be highly competitive. You'd be amazed. Like I have it up right now, actually. Like Creighton, Oklahoma, Arkansas are all behind UCSD in KenPom. Like this is a legit basketball team that I think has every intention and possibility to win this game. And like Jake mentioned, I think all of us liked Michigan earlier in the season. You have an experienced coach in Dusty May. You have a few of those FAU guys who contributed to those runs on the team. It's an experienced March team. I do like them. I just think this is a really brutal draw for them. I think that's going to be an outstanding game.
Do we have a line for Alabama? Yeah, Alabama State and Auburn yet? Everybody seen that?
I think it's 31.5.
Did y'all watch that game tonight? That was crazy. They both suck. The Auburn, they don't even have to show up. They can play. They can pick some guys out of the frat houses. It's going to be ugly. That is one of those. Both of those teams were god awful. I wish I never watched that basketball game. That's how bad that was.
31.5 is what I see.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm surprised it's not more, honestly. Like it was bad. Nick, did you watch it? Tyler?
I did not.
I caught the end of it. Well, pretty exciting ending. I like the
Yeah,
Alabama.
yeah.
That was
It was a very exciting ending. They just both suck, turn the ball over, can't shoot. I mean, it was just a sloppy game to watch. Auburn, I mean, that'll be ugly. But anyways, Tyler, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I think y'all covered most of it. I like Louisville Creighton. I think it'll be a good one. I believe it is in Lexington, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Louisville's going to have a crowd advantage there. I think it'll be a good game regardless. I think Louisville also got absolutely screwed over with an 8 seed. They're way too good of a basketball team to be an 8 seed. So, yeah, that's going to be a good one. And then again, I kind of covered this earlier, but A&M and Yale. I think Yale's a solid team coming out of Ivy League, so I think that'll be a close one.
Yeah, I agree. One thing before we actually pull the screen up, what is y'all's thought process on picking SEC games? Like, are y'all going through this like, wow, they played the SEC, like they already have the advantage, or are you just treating it like you normally would a March Madness bracket? Because I've been having a hard time, like, wow, Ole Miss, Iowa State, but the SEC is so good. Like, is any other year, Ole Miss might be like a force. No, like I've had those thoughts, not just from that team, just throwing an example out there. Is anybody else like running into that? Like, wow, the SEC was really that good where they got 14 teams in.
Yeah, I think it's tricky. Sorry, you go, Jake. My fault.
No, you go. Go ahead, Nate. Go ahead.
Nate.
I think it's tricky because there's always, like, not to get into, I guess, like the media politics of it, but like there's going to be an agenda however this like unfolds. Like if you have 3 SEC teams in the Final Four, like it's going to be like, oh, this was a historically great conference. If it goes a different way, you're going to have people saying that they never should have had that many teams in, and all these like metrics. I know a couple years ago, like people were getting upset with, like, I think it was the Big 12. Like a lot of the teams had super high net ratings and like X, Y, or Z reason that they shouldn't have had so many teams in. So I think it's just, obviously we probably all of us pay a little bit of special attention to this conference just because of where we are. But so maybe we view it one certain way. But I think it's just tricky to see how these teams stack up against these out of conference schools when we really haven't seen them play any of these other schools in like months at this point. It's so many conflicting narratives, so many conflicting metrics as far as net ratings, KenPom. I think it's just tricky. You actually mentioned I think a great encapsulation of it, that potential Iowa State Ole Miss game. Ole Miss, a team that I think a lot of us have liked for much of the year. Iowa State, obviously a team that's been struggling a little bit more as of late and has run into some injury issues. So just a lot of tricky spots. And I think the toughest thing with March Madness is you could look at these brackets all day and talk yourself into a couple different things. So yeah, 100% agree with you, Hunter. Super tricky to kind of evaluate these teams.
Yeah. And just like Nick said, talking about, it's been several months since we've seen these conference teams play other teams. Like, and it's something you can go back and look at, which is like, wow, like Auburn ran the Maui Invitational, or for instance, Maryland has a terrible non-con schedule. I think their best win was Villanova, and they barely beat them. And that's the team that a lot of people are like right now. Georgia beat St. John's. This happened. We can't forget this. So it's cool to go back and look at all those neutral site tournaments that we had back in November and December and see. But now we're here, so we're really about to find out. But I just thought that was interesting, adding that to the next point.
Yeah, I agree. I think my biggest thing is just the SEC really battle tested. Like that's how we're going to find out if these teams are really good. Like I think Auburn is probably the most battle tested team in the country. I know they sucked the end of the year. They lost the first team to be the first overall seed that lost 3 or 4 straight games, or 3 of their last 4 games. But guys, their non-con was unreal. Playing Houston and Duke in back-to-back games, playing in the Maui Invitational and running the table, beating Iowa State, teams like that. Just a few things, but all right. Let's put pen to paper, and I would be rude if we did not let our guest, Nick, go first. So, all right, without further ado, can we see it? All right.
Got it.
All right, so can you Do you have a bracket in front of you? Because I know that
I do. Yeah, I have a bracket on my computer.
Okay, great. All right. So, well, actually, let's do that right there, and everybody can still hear about everybody. But all right, Nick, tell me who you got in Auburn versus Alabama State. I know it's a tough game to pick.
Yeah, we're gonna War Eagle here. That's all I'll say. We'll just leave it with that.
All right, yeah, and just work your way through. If you want to give analysis, you can. If not, if you just want to go through and pick them, that's fine too. Whatever's comfortable for you, man.
Yeah, for sure. I'll give maybe a few fast points. Just we discussed this game a little bit already. I like Creighton. I have liked Creighton for the past couple of years. Gonna roll with Louisville in this game. Tyler mentioned the game's in Kentucky. I think they're gonna draw a crowd. That's enough for me. And I know we talked about it already, but it's crazy to me that they're an 8 seed and Memphis is a 5. I think that's crazy. I don't know what's going on in the committee, but not a fan of that. Got a couple upset picks here. So my whole bracket's not going to be like this, I promise. But I got 2 in a row for you. I'm going to roll with UCSD in this game. I know we talked about it already. I think they're super live, and then I'm going to go with the Yale Bulldogs as well. Just 2 close spreads in those games. Obviously, I'm always a little suspicious when that's the case in these longer seed lines. So going to go with those 2. I'm going to take Ole Miss against likely UNC. This looks like, or at least Vegas thinks so, it's going to probably close about a 1.5 line, slight favorite Ole Miss. I'm going to go with them. I really don't think UNC should be in the tournament. But then again, they looked outstanding tonight. It may kind of be a no one believes in us situation. So who knows? Going to roll with Iowa State against Lipscomb. Not too much to say there. And then you got to go with the Lobos. This is a little bit of got to just roll with the Lobos, a little bit of fading Shaka Smart, and then I'm going to take Michigan State to defeat Bryant as well.
Good deal. I like that, man. Got a little bit of everything, a little bit of chalk, and then a little bit of straight through. All right, who's going to the Sweet 16, Nick?
Gonna roll with Auburn, but man, like I just said, I think this Louisville team is a top 20 team in the country. There's nothing to tell me that they couldn't give them a game, but we're gonna give Auburn the advantage. I think they're just super deep and battle tested, like you mentioned. Gonna roll with UCSD against the Bulldogs. This is kind of like my I guess dark horse team. I know it's a little bit of a public pick, but I like them to make a run. Jake talked me into it a little bit. I was going back and forth on this Ole Miss Iowa State game. I'm gonna take Ole Miss. I think Iowa State just kind of missing Gilbert, missing one of their main guys. I think they're gonna struggle a little bit. And then I'm gonna take Michigan State to take down the Lobos. I think New Mexico can hang in that game, but I think Michigan State's gonna be a little too much for them. And then just rolling back up to the top. Gonna take Auburn over UCSD here. I think it's a cool Cinderella run. Again, I think Auburn's just super deep, probably going to be too much talent for them. And then I'm going to take Michigan State here. A little bit of chalk to conclude this region, but I think Ole Miss is absolutely live to win that game. And then I am going to take the Auburn Tigers to win the region. I know we discussed it a little bit before, but this team struggled of late. I just can't discount what they've done this season. I think Bruce Pearl's going to have his team ready. And as weird as it sounds, I think dropping a couple of these games may not be the worst thing for them. They know they're not invincible now. They looked, I don't want to say invincible, but looked pretty untouchable for a couple months there. And I think sometimes I always think about the U.S. Dream Team when they had them play like that college team with the cameras off and or a team of primarily U.S. college players, and they lost that game, and it was sort of like this, whoa, like we're not untouchable moment. I think maybe there's been a little bit of that for Auburn, and they may be better in the long run. So that is my my region, and going with Auburn to advance to the Final Four.
Good deal, man. I like it a lot. I feel like you had a good mix of upsets and up with some chalk, and then it was some chalk. I like it. Nothing wrong with that. I'm actually pretty interested to see how similar everybody's brackets are to one another. On, you are up next. Let me get this rolling here for you. All right, Tyler, you got a bracket in front of you, or can you read that?
Yep, I got a bracket in front of me, so I'm ready to go.
Good deal.
I'm not going to hit as many points as Nick did.
That's fine.
I'm just roll with teams here. So I got Auburn beating Alabama State. I've got Louisville beating Creighton. UC San Diego takes the win over Michigan, and then Yale also beats Texas A&M. I've got Ole Miss beating what looks like North Carolina, I think now. Iowa State beating Lipscomb. And then Marquette over New Mexico. Big Cam Jones fan. And then Michigan State over Bryant. So that's my round of 64 there. Moving on, I've got Auburn beating Louisville. I think it'll be a good game, but I think Auburn's just too strong. UC San Diego moving on. I think they're going to be the Cinderella team. I have Ole Miss beating Iowa State. I like the SEC. And then Michigan State is going to handle Marquette. Michigan State's a good team. And then did we go ahead and pick Sweet 16 too?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I got Auburn advancing and Michigan State advancing.
Good deal. And who you got to the Final Four?
Michigan State.
Michigan State. Tom Izzo. He's taking Tom Izzo.
Come on.
Yeah, I can't argue that pick. I'm not like picking either one of those teams. Like I feel like you got a good argument for either one. So, but if it's Tom Izzo or just the talent at Auburn, all right, Jake. Let me get you up here. And there we go.
All right. So start at the top. Just like everybody, I've got Auburn. I think they roll and probably cover. I'm a big believer in this Creighton team to get past the first round with Colt Bryant. I think they have the size advantage in this one. I know Louisville's going to pull a good crowd, but that's going to be an electric environment. I got Creighton advancing. I'm kind of the opposite of Nick on these next two. He's got Yale and UC San Diego. I got the exact opposite. This is the bracket. This is the part of the bracket, the region, that I have the least amount of upsets in. I think Michigan and Texas A&M advance here. I'm a big believer in Michigan. I'm still going to stick with that. They're hot, so I'm going to roll with that. And then A&M to beat Yale. Already talked about Ole Miss, so I won't say much there. Iowa State, I do think they get this one. And then I have New Mexico advancing. That's going to be a great game against Marquette. And then I have Michigan State over Bryant. Moving to the round of 32. Auburn to beat Creighton. Pretty self-explanatory there. I have Michigan taking down A&M in the second round. And then I have Ole Miss beating Iowa State, a banged-up Iowa State team. And then Michigan State advancing to the Sweet 16. So that leaves my South Region Sweet 16 teams being Auburn against Michigan, Ole Miss, and Michigan State. I'm going to take Auburn to beat Michigan here. Good, interesting matchup just with how big both of these teams are. Just like it feels like two NBA teams size-wise. I mean, I know it's not actually, but looking at it on the court, like both are just very big teams. And so I'll take Auburn there, and then I have Ole Miss taking down Izzo and the boys. I think they catch fire. I'm going to stick with that. And Ole Miss and Auburn, an SEC matchup in the Elite Eight. And I'm going to take Auburn to win the region. I think they're going to run through it. I know they're cold, but we can't discredit what they've done all year. I mean, it's like 16-1 and 16 quad one wins and one loss or something along those lines. Yeah, and I think I saw them in person when they played Georgia at home. Georgia should have won that game, by the way. We had a chance at the buzzer there. But they are huge. They can shoot, and they have guys. You got Baker Mazzara. You got Janai Broome. Pettiford, he's a good guard who can just explode out of nowhere and drop 20 on you in a heartbeat. They are stacked. That I truly think that Auburn's going to run through this whole thing. I believe in that. So I have Auburn.
Was it the Auburn coach that on live TV said that his guards aren't pussies?
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's right. Heck yeah, Bruce Pearl.
Because I didn't already know
Eagle,
that.
baby.
I didn't already know that watching Chad Baker Mazzara play basketball. I had no idea. Oh, wow. All right. I guess it is my turn to roll here. Okay. So, there we go. I got Auburn. I'm not going to waste time on that one. I'm going to take Creighton here. I like this team, a lot of returning starters rather than a bunch of transfers together. I feel like that's a big deal when you're playing in March, and it's hard get off McDermott right now. Just let his team the Big East championship. I know Louisville just won too, but I'm going to favor Creighton. I feel like everybody's picking Louisville due to it's in Kentucky, but I am going to take the Jayhawks there. Everybody on here has picked UC San Diego except for you, Jake, I guess. But two of y'all did, and I'm going to join the crowd here. I'm going to also take the Tritons. I'm very known to fade a team off a high like Michigan. They just won the Big Ten tournament. I honestly thought they were going to lose to Purdue in their first game. I didn't think they stood much of a chance. They run the table. I'm going to take UC San Diego for the fact that Michigan's on an all-time high right now. And also another thing is that UC San Diego is like top 25 in forcing turnovers, and Michigan ranks in the 300s in turnover rate. Danny Wolf, great player, but loves to turn the ball over. So for those reasons, I'm going to take the Tritons to beat the Wolverines. I'm going to take A&M and Buzz Williams here. If there's a coach that's going to light a fire under his team's butt, it's going to be Buzz Williams after getting embarrassed by Texas for the second time this year. Just the little brother narrative continues in all sports for the Aggies. I'm going to take them to beat Yale. I'm going to roll with Ole Miss to beat UNC. I don't think UNC should be in the tournament. However, this could be one of those where it's like, God dang, they shouldn't be in the tournament. And it's like they just beat Tom Izzo. Now they're in the Elite Eight or something. But I don't think Lightning's going to strike twice. I'm going to take Ole Miss there. I like Chris Beard a lot, especially in that coaching matchup. Give me Iowa State. I'm just I don't know. I can't take anybody from the A-Sun that's serious in Lipscomb. No disrespect. I'm going to take New Mexico. Shaka Smart has not had the best resume while being at Marquette as far as tournament action goes. Obviously, he had the tremendous run with VCU a few years ago. But another big thing here is like, man, who better to get coaching advice from on how to beat Marquette than your dad? Rick Pitino beat Marquette 3 times this year, and now his son Richard, coaching New Mexico, is going to take them on. I would think that they're going to come prepared with a good game plan and also have a really good guard. His name is slipping me right now, but one of the best guards. I feel like he is going to be very entertaining to watch. And then I'm going to take Tom Izzo to beat 15 seed Bryant. Not a lot going on there. I'm going to take Auburn just to keep on winning here. Not a lot to say. I'm not going to dive into like potential matchups because for all I know, I'm going to spend 5 minutes on them and then they don't even happen. So I'm going to roll with the Aggies here against UC San Diego. And I can't believe all of us took Ole Miss. I thought I was going to be like the cool one that took Ole Miss to beat Iowa State, but we have all 4 taken Ole Miss, so that means UNC is going to kick their ass on Friday. Give me Michigan State to beat New Mexico, and then I'm going to take Auburn to beat A&M. This is like the game that I think they have circled. It is like all over them, considering that they lost on A&M senior night, and it started this downward trajectory that they're on right now. But this is the game that I think the Tigers really want. They want their revenge on A&M. And then I'm going to take Tom Izzo and the Spartans to keep on going, even though this was hard. Like, if I could see Chris Beard versus Tom Izzo in the Elite Eight or in the Sweet 16, that would be awesome. However, there's just something special about Michigan State. But I'm going to take Auburn to make the Final Four here. Now's the time to buy the stock in Auburn. Everybody's selling their stock, saying Auburn sucks. They've been overrated all year. No. They're not. And now's the time that I believe you buy in on them. So I've got the Tigers making the Final Four out of the South region, I believe? Yes. So.
Good deal.
Yes, sir. All right. Moving on. East region, where the Duke Blue Devils are the number 1 seed. Anything in particular pop out to anybody on this one? I'm very intrigued by the 8-9 matchup here as well with Duke or with Mississippi State and Baylor. Not as intriguing as Louisville Creighton in my eyes. And then I think the game I'm most excited for out of this region is the 7-10 St. Mary's versus Vandy. How about Vandy's coach? Oh, what's his name? Nick. Help me out here. Mark, it's Mark something.
Something Gin. I know. Yeah, I'm drawing a blank.
I'm drawing a blank. Hang on. This is going to bother me.
Gin or something? I don't know.
It's Mark Bryington. Bryington. Is that his name?
Yeah,
Yes.
Byington.
Okay. Man, talk about getting a team off the rear. Gary Stackhouse had Vandy basketball in the crap. Man, they were in the toilet, circling the drain. And year one under Mark Bryington, gets Vandy to the tournament as a 10 seed. A lot of really good home game wins this year. They beat like Tennessee, Kentucky. Um, Another thing I really like about Mark Byington, he's the same guy, came from JMU last year who beat Wisconsin in the first round. And then also before that, this guy won basketball games and a lot of them at Georgia Southern. That's not an easy feat. Okay. So that's why I have a lot of respect for the guy. And like I had mentioned about St. Mary's earlier, I mean, they won the conference. They didn't win the conference tournament, but they won the regular season, beat Gonzaga twice, returning player of the year. So I'm very intrigued by that game. Anything in particular stick out to you guys about first round matchups or individual teams?
I know that y'all were a little high on VCU. I'm pretty high on BYU, so I think that could be interesting. And then, like you said, St. Mary's with Vanderbilt. I think Vanderbilt's a streaky team, and so if they catch fire in that first round, they could do it.
I would say I think my favorite matchup in this region would be Mississippi State and Baylor. I think it's the first game on Friday. You got Hubbard from Mississippi State. I watched him in person. He can make it from anywhere on the court. He's always open. And Baylor, VJ Edgecombe, he's one of the best scorers in the country right now. So I'm excited for that one. I think there'll be a lot of points in that game. So I'm excited to watch that. That would be my biggest matchup that I'm excited for.
Yeah, and just to continue on what you guys were saying, I think that VCU BYU matchup it's interesting stylistically. I'm looking forward to that one. I think it should be an interesting game, and then the St. Mary's Vandy game. I think that's one of the cool things about March. It's just like a weird game. Like when will those two schools really ever play in anything? And I think that's what makes it so awesome. So it should be another interesting game. Stylistically, kind of cool. Just two teams from different coasts, totally different conferences, and yeah, so a couple of good ones in there. Looking forward to it.
Good deal. All right, Nick. Let me hopefully I click the right link here. They all look the exact same, but I think I got it down. All right. Yes. You had both of those. Yep, we're good. All right. I will go full screen here. Nick, let's start at the top, work our way down. Who we got?
Sounds good to me. So obviously we're rolling with Duke in that 116 matchup. Gonna take Mississippi State in that 8-9 matchup. I like them. Maybe it's a little bit of SEC bias, but we're gonna take them. Interesting game. Oregon Liberty. I think Liberty's definitely live in this game. I don't love Oregon, but I'm gonna roll with them in this matchup. I think it has potential to be a close game for sure. Gonna take Arizona over Akron. I think that should probably be a pretty handed blowout. I know this is the dividing game, but I'm gonna roll with VCU here. I think they're a super talented team. Should stifle BYU. They've been super hot, but I think if they could control the perimeter defensively, maybe slow them down a little bit. Going to take Wisconsin over Montana. And I'm going to take St. Mary's over Vandy. Thought about this one a little bit, but St. Mary's, as we know, likes to slow the game down. I think this is a super good team. Like Jake mentioned, they've beat Gonzaga twice this season, and I think they're going to take this one. And then I'm going to take the Crimson Tide over Robert Morris in the 215 matchup. So then rolling right along, Duke Mississippi State going to take the Blue Devils. Hopefully we get a healthy Cooper Flag by then at the latest, maybe the Sweet 16. Going to take Arizona over Oregon. Arizona I like a lot. Oregon I think is a little bit overrated. Some of the advanced metrics would support that thesis, and like I mentioned, I like that Arizona team led by Caleb Love. Going to take VCU to go to the Sweet 16. Little upset pick here. Again, another team like I mentioned, with UCSD pretty highly rated in KenPom, and I think is probably a higher quality team than their seed would indicate. And then this, I thought about this one a little bit. I think this is another interesting game. Alabama, as we know, just loves to shoot the basketball, score these super high game totals seem to kind of be associated with them. St. Mary's kind of in the opposite direction. I'm gonna take Alabama, but I think St. Mary's is live in that game for sure. And then kind of rolling chalk again here. I think Arizona is going to keep this game competitive. A lot of this obviously has to do with Cooper Flagg's injury status, but going to take the Blue Devils and once again going with another 1-2 matchup here. Duke, Alabama. It's super tricky. I've kind of looked at previous year's brackets. I'm sure you guys have a little bit doing your research in the past couple days as well, and I feel like this is kind of like a year with some chalk potential. March is crazy. Maybe it goes the absolute opposite direction, but I think some of these top tier teams are super strong. So don't want to pick against them just to be different. I think this is probably how these regions unfold.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I'm guessing you're taking Duke.
I'm taking Duke. Yeah, I apologize. We're rolling with Duke.
All good. All good, man.
Go to the Final Four.
All good. Everything you touched on, even VCU to the Sweet 16. Interesting stuff there. Mr. Vaughn, let's see what you have out of this region here.
All right. So starting off, so my roommate and I always do a coin flip bracket just to see what happens. And my coin flip had the 16 seed of American or Mount St. Mary winning the whole damn thing. We're going the opposite there here. So we're going Duke. I'm going to go Mississippi State. Might be SEC bias, but I don't care. Oregon can take care of Liberty. I don't think Liberty's as strong as some people are thinking they are. Arizona's going to handle Akron. I've got BYU. Like I said, I think they're a really good 6 seed. They can play well. I've got Wisconsin moving on. And then I have St. Mary's beating Vanderbilt. I like the way St. Mary's matches up there, but a little better. And then Alabama to beat Robert Morris. So going to the round of 32, I've got Duke beating Mississippi State. I've got Arizona beating Oregon. I'm taking the Cougars to beat the Badgers. Give me BYU. And then Alabama to move on. In the Sweet 16, I've got Arizona taking down Duke. And then I've got Alabama beating BYU. And in back-to-back years, I've got Alabama moving on to the Final Four.
Wow. I mean, I don't hate it at all. What was your thought process on Caleb Love beating Duke again?
I just kind of like what Nick said with Cooper Flagg's injury. I'm just kind of, I don't know. I think that if Duke's going to get beat, this is where it'll happen. In my mind, at least, I think this is the first time they'll be tested, and I don't know if they're going to be able to hang with Caleb Love in Arizona. So I don't know. I'm feeling Arizona, man.
Hey, man, I don't hate it. I do not hate it. Mr. Stinchcomb.
Let's do it.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I got it pulled up right here. Oh. All right. So I have Duke advancing pretty easy there. I have Baylor. I like Baylor a lot in this game. And then I have Liberty with the upset over Oregon. I think Oregon's very overrated. This is kind of one of those under the radar upsets. I feel like I haven't heard at least a lot of people talking about this one. So I got Liberty moving forward. I'm with Tyler. I'm very high on Arizona and Caleb Love. And then I have VCU moving forward over BYU. This is the split one that we talked about. And then Wisconsin to beat Montana. I will say that that's subject to change before they play. That's all I'm going to say. And then I have St. Mary's beating Vandy. I have Bama beating Robert Morris, moving to round 2. I have Duke beating Baylor in that one. Arizona beats Liberty. VCU takes down Wisconsin and advances the Sweet 16, just like Nick had. And then Alabama beats St. Mary's to advance. And then moving to the Sweet 16, I have Arizona taking down Duke. And then Bama moving forward, advancing. And then I have Arizona winning this region. Caleb Love and the boys get it done. Experienced team. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm all in on Arizona and Tommy.
All in on the Wildcats. No chalk. No chalk.
KJ Lewis, one of the best 6-men in the country. Very good. They're gonna have one, if not the best guard on the floor at all times, no matter who they play. So
All right.
big on Arizona.
Yeah, we definitely have some differentiating opinions here, especially concerning mine. So I'm rolling with the Blue Devils over the 16 seed. I'm going to take Mississippi State here, just strictly because I'm riding with that wave, like I mentioned before we start filling it out. Like the SEC, they're battle tested. They've played the best competition all year. I think that can get most of these teams out of the first round at bare minimum. I'm taking Oregon over Liberty for two reasons. One, Dana Altman is a very underrated March Madness coach. He finds success. He can coach his butt off. And for year one, for a team that has to travel multiple time zones for all their away games, being Oregon, I feel like he's done a justifiable job in year one at the Big Ten. And also, I don't think the Conference USA was a very good league this year. Liberty, like I kind of mentioned about High Point, all 5 people just standing behind the arc, and it's like rebounding's just optional. So I feel like Liberty's going to have to shoot very well in order to beat Oregon. I think they get the job done. I'm also going to take Arizona and the Wildcats here. Split. I think 2 of us pick BYU and then 2 of y'all pick VCU. I'm going to roll with the Cougars, subject to change. This one would be going in pencil, not pen. Give me Wisconsin, coming off a heartbreaker. Had every right to win, every chance to win that Big Ten championship and could not do it. I'm going to be the only one here. I'm rolling with Vandy to beat St. Mary's just for the sole reason with the same thing with like Mississippi State. Like I really, really like the SEC to just run this table here. Give me Alabama over Bob Morris there at the 15 line. I'm going to keep riding the wave with Duke. It's Duke, man. Like they're, even without Cooper Flagg, they're going to be really dang good. I'm taking Oregon over Arizona there, a little out of the way compared to you guys. I like Dana Altman, and I think we've seen multiple times this year where Arizona, when they have to face a really good coach, such as Kelvin Sampson, not saying that Dana Altman and Kelvin Sampson are on the same level, but I'd argue in March, they've had similar success as far as how far they've gotten in the tournament. I'm going to take Oregon right there. I think they're going to get out-coach Arizona. And then I'm going to take Wisconsin. I like a team riding the wave off of a heartbreaking loss like they had against Michigan and just the way they kind of ended their season. I like the Badgers to move on. And then I don't know if y'all have heard, but Mark Sears questionable and Grant Nelson questionable. Obviously they'll probably play, but if neither one of those guys are 100%, it's a little sus. I don't know. I'm going to go on a limb here. I'm a little nuts on the table pick, as we said during football season. I'm going to take the Commodores to beat Bama.
Ooh.
To the Sweet 16. With all that being said, I'm taking Duke over Oregon. I'm going to take – oh, gosh. I'm not going to lie, guys. When I originally filled this out, I had Vanderbilt in the Elite Eight. But you know what? I'm just going to keep it there. I'm going to ride Vandy. No, I'm not. I'm going to go with Wisconsin. I'm not going to be that dumb. I got Duke, Wisconsin, 1 versus 3, and I got the Blue Devils advancing to the Final Four out of the is that the East region? Yes. So got a little scary there for a second, but I'm not kidding y'all. The first time I filled it out, I had Vandy in the final, or not in the Final Four, but in the Elite Eight. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take Wisconsin. A little bit different. But so we had 3 Dukes and an Arizona? No. Did Tyler have Arizona too?
Yeah, he had Arizona.
So 2 Arizonas and 2 Dukes. I like it, fellas. I like it. Hey, Arizona to the Final Four might be a sprinkle play for some of y'all out there.
I have it.
I already know Jake Stinchcom's already got it, Yeah. This guy doesn't go a day without checking every line out there. All right. So let me put this back up here and sorry. Is this it? Nope. Is that it? Yes. No, it's not. There we go. Okay. Midwest. This is probably the most boring region. I'm not scared to say it. Not that like it's going to be bad basketball, just as far as like teams, star power, coaching, whatever it might be. Like this one's just not as appealing to me as some of the other ones, I would say. Games I'm interested in, the 5-12 Clemson-McNeese. I'm really interested to see like Clemson with a disappointing loss, close loss to Louisville in the semis of the ACC. Interested to see how they come back after making the Elite Eight, and we're a few shots away from making a Final Four last year. Then we got, Will Wade as the opponent. McNeese, can they get it done this year? Purdue, High Point, another really good game. I think that High Point can keep close. And then two teams that could get hot, or I guess technically three. I think either Texas or Xavier could get hot as that 11 line. Either team. Yeah. Xavier's been playing hot. We saw Texas make a little extra noise in the SEC tournament that they probably shouldn't have made. And then Illinois with Brad Underwood, they've had to have 7 or 8 different starting lineups this year. Had to fight with like a flu bug, like all this other stuff. And they found themselves on the 6th line. And if you've watched Illinois basketball this year, if the shots are going in, there's not a team that can beat them. Like if one player's making shots, everybody's making shots. So those are that entire matchup's just very interesting to me. Mick Cronin, UCLA in here. Let's see how Mark Pope does. First year at Kentucky. Can he get past the first round? Something Cal struggled with at his ending years tenure there at Kentucky. So, all right, fellas. Anything y'all would like to add as far as the Midwest region goes before we start filling them out?
My delusional Kentucky fan roommate just wants you guys to know that Kentucky's the team this year. So
this is like the 12th straight year of this is like the 12th straight year of them being the team.
I've heard that every year since Rick Pitino's been there. I wasn't even alive for most of that.
Yeah. Dallas Cowboys of college basketball, man. That's what it is.
No, I feel like that's
the only matchup I want to touch on, obviously, the hometown matchup, Georgia. I think we're going to get beat by 20. I really do. Gonzaga just might run us off the court. But my most intriguing matchup is the winner of Texas and Xavier playing Kentucky. Texas kind of went on a little mini run in the SEC tournament, and Xavier, for some reason, early in the year, like January, they were not playing good in conference play. They were terrible, and they have figured something out. So them going up against Pope and Kentucky in round 1, I'm excited for that. So, or no,
they play Illinois round 1.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Illinois. My bad.
Just to agree with Jake there. Obviously excited for the Georgia game. I think he's 100% right. I feel like by halftime I'm probably going to be claiming that I could coach the team better and there's no inbound plays and offense is that. It's like the same. The Mike White experience is pretty hilarious. So, but kudos to Georgia. They've been hot. Who knows? It's funny. A lot of the kind of predictions I've seen out there that Georgia maybe could keep it close and Gonzaga's a little overrated. I would like to believe that. I'm not sure I do. I think Gonzaga probably takes it, but should be, hopefully let's hope for a competitive game. I think that would be fun for everybody. So definitely in a biased way, that's the game I'm most looking at in this region.
Good deal. I will say the text thread when Jake and Nick are at a Georgia basketball game, when they are sitting next to each other, but they still like to send me their separate opinions. It's something else, and I love it.
It's the Mike White experience, man.
Snow White, man. Snow White. Team is soft.
Nick is right, though. I've never watched a basketball team with 0 inbound plays. You watch them on a baseline out of bounds play. The generic thing that every team ever, regardless if it's Pee Wee or up to the NBA, what is the number one baseline out of bounds play? Stack. They don't do it. They don't do it. They don't line up in a box set. I'm not going to go on that rant, but it's bizarre, man. They do not have a baseline out of bounds play, and it's going to come back to bite them in the ass because when we lose by 2 on Thursday or Friday, whenever we play, because we can't get the damn ball in bounds. That's how it's going to end. Mark my word. Georgia covers. We lose by 2, and we don't even give ourselves a shot because we can't get the ball in bounds.
Wow.
Nick knows. He knows.
I didn't know this was the Paul Feinbaum show, man.
Not gonna argue. Not gonna argue with any of that. It's all accurate, unfortunately.
I do have a hot take as far as the Georgia Gonzaga game goes. I like the Bulldogs to win. All right. With that being said, I'm going to anybody else. All right. I'm gonna let old Nick get back up here. Let's see. It should be this one. So yes, you have VCU. Yep. This is a look, right, Nick? I think it is yours. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we're good. All right. So Midwest, we're in the bottom right. All right. Let's hear them. Don't pick Georgia. Don't you do it.
I'm rolling with Houston. That's an easy one. Gonna take Gonzaga. Trying not to be too biased here, and I know what I've seen, so I can't pretend it's gonna go a different way. Taking Clemson. We're going against the manager, unfortunately, Amir. Tough for him, but we're gonna take Clemson in this matchup. Taking High Point. This is my one of my big upset picks. I think this is gonna be a high scoring game. I think they're gonna be motivated to get out there and put up some points, and I think this is probably a late exciting finish. That's my prediction there. Gonna take the Fighting Illini. Obviously, we're not sure who they're gonna be playing, but I kind of like them again in a matchup against either one of those teams. Taking Kentucky here. I think Troy's live in this game. I know Jake mentioned a little bit in the past couple of weeks that he likes them. I think they can maybe make. Spot to cover. Taking UCLA here, and then I'm going to take Rick Barnes in Tennessee to beat Wofford as well.
Okay, good deal.
Moving up to the top of the region, or excuse me, the round of 32. Going to take Houston here over Gonzaga. Definitely a chance for a competitive game here. I would guess this is probably handicapped at like 6.5, 7.5 points. Nothing super long shot. Definitely can stay in it. Going to take Clemson here over High Point. Super great year in the ACC. I think they have a chance to make some noise. Going to take Illinois here. A little bit of an upset over Kentucky. Both of these teams who score the basketball at a super high level. I ran a little bit of a projection. There's a site, not an ad, Haslametrics, that it's pretty similar to like Ken Palm professor who runs like some simulations and ratings. They had this handicapped at closer to a pick'em, so who knows what the real line will be, but I think this actually has a chance to be a super close high scoring game, and then I'm going to take Tennessee to defeat UCLA and advance there. And then moving up, this is a tricky game. I've thought about this a little bit. I'm very tempted to pick Clemson here. I'm gonna take Houston. Like this just feels like the spot where Houston usually just kind of like falls apart. I'm gonna reluctantly take them, and then I'm gonna take Tennessee to defeat Illinois, and I'm actually gonna have Tennessee advance to the Final Four very reluctantly. This is usually the Rick Barnes disaster and the Elite Eight or Sweet 16, but I'm gonna roll with the SEC being super strong and taking Tennessee to go and face Duke.
Good deal, man. I like it. Except I think you forget who Tennessee's coach is, man. That like the Rick Barnes experience. This guy struggles making it out of the first weekend, much less the second. I know he made the Elite Eight last year, but like my God, historically, this guy sucks in March.
I made sure to name drop him 5 times and preface it, so I'm aware. I'm aware of what I'm doing. But
I know
we're gonna roll with him this year. No, I'm just
because, like you said, you made a good point on both Houston and Tennessee. I've picked Houston to win the national championship 4 out of the last 5 years. Yeah. I always fall for it. And then Tennessee, I've picked them to make these deep runs. I'm like, yep, this is where they break through. I will say I do like a team coming off an ass-beating loss in the conference tournament, though, that in the championship. So very interested to see how that plays out for the Vols. Mr. Vaughn, let's see who you got coming out of the Midwest region here. Let me see. Yep. Yep, that's right.
Yep.
All
right. So starting off, I've got Houston winning that game pretty handedly. I've got the Bulldogs, Gonzaga, winning that one. I've got McNeese's basketball roster pulled up, and they have Amir, and then in quotes Aura, and then Khan as his official name on their roster. So I'm taking McNeese to beat Clemson. I've got Purdue beating High Point. And then I've got the winner of Texas and Xavier beating Illinois there and moving on. Give me Kentucky to beat Troy, Utah State over UCLA, and then Tennessee over Wofford. And then back up to the top, I've got Houston beating Gonzaga, Purdue beating McNeese. I've got Kentucky moving on to the Sweet 16, and then Tennessee. And then here I have Houston moving on to the Elite Eight and Tennessee moving on. And give me the Cougars to make the Final Four.
Good deal, man. I like it. We had the top 4 seeds in the Elite Eight and the 1 and 2 in the just as God intended.
Yeah, this one's pretty straightforward to me when it gets late.
Oh yeah. All right, Jake. I can't wait to see freaking High Point versus McNeese in the second round here.
All right.
I know this is gonna. I know it's gonna happen. It's Jake Stinchcomb.
All right. So I have Houston in the first round. I have Gonzaga by 1,000,000 over Georgia. I have Amir Khan and the boys from McNeese taking down Clemson. I hate that, but I'm rolling with it. Purdue beats High Point. A lot of people put on High Point right now. I like Purdue and Braden Smith to get that one. The winner of Texas and Xavier, I don't care who it is. I think both of these teams are hot, and I got them beating Underwood and Illinois. Kentucky beats Troy. Utah State beats UCLA. If you were lucky enough to watch UCLA in the Big Ten tournament, they are an uncompetitive team. They do not compete. That no toughness, no grit, nothing. Do not pick this team to win. Utah State might win by 20. Anyways, Tennessee to beat Wofford. Moving forward to the round of 32, I have Houston beating Gonzaga. That was a tough one for me, subject to change. But I'm going to stick with Houston. Moving on to Sweet 16, McNeese, Amir Khan, the NIL deal, baby. Come on. And then another Cinderella. The winner of Texas and Xavier takes down Mark Pope and the boys. Give me the winner of that one, advancing to the Sweet 16, and they will be playing Tennessee in that one. And then I have Tennessee beating the winner of that game and advancing to whatever, the Elite Eight, I guess. And then I have Houston beating McNeese, Amir Khan. It's time to go. And then I'm going to take a little quick pause here for a minute, and I'm going to flash back to Tuesday, January 28th. So been a little bit, almost 2 months now. And I'm going to read a few texts from a group chat that myself, and Hunter and Nick are in. So keep in mind, back on January 28th, the Vols took on Kentucky at home that day. Me and Nick and Hunter. I don't know if Hunter was in on it, but me and Nick both had Tennessee to win at home. Big spot for them. I was in
as well. Yeah.
And there's several takes I could read off, but the best one is the last one. Nick says, Tennessee a March Madness cross-off for me now, as always. And I said, same. So with that being said, me and Nick now both have this damn Tennessee team, Rocky Top, advancing to the Final Four. So I guess we're going to ride with it. And there's a lot more text just like that. Yeah, I had to go back and find those receipts. I'm gonna read a few more. Let's see. Nick, Tennessee might be cooked. I said, for real. This is gonna cook my night if they just lose outright. Same dump out in the corner on that 3. Ziegler sucks. Guy can't do anything. This is very unfortunate. The whole team can't shoot. The ball hitting the rim noise is so annoying when you bet on the team that misses. How the fuck do you just lose the ball like that? What else? Can you not throw the ball in when you're being pressed? Vols look like this is a good one. Vols look like our IM team from deep. So yeah, me and Nick both have Tennessee advancing to the Final Four.
Proves everything's subject to change. That's just that's hilarious.
God.
I can't believe you found all that. That's awesome.
Well, as soon as you picked Tennessee, it hit me. I was like, oh my God, we both have Tennessee. And I remember that it was like a Saturday or whatever, Tuesday. So yeah, Vols to the Final Four.
That's funny. That is funny. All right, Midwest for me. I'm gonna take Houston over SIU Edwardsville. Wow, I actually, like, no joke. I know I'm like the biggest Mike White hater in the world, but like I kind of want to take Georgia in this game. Like I think Georgia covers the 6.5 legitimately. Like I'm gonna be on Georgia plus 6.5. Gonzaga is the most bet on team in the first round right now. I really like Georgia, but I'm gonna go with Mark Few. I feel like a dummy picking against Mark Few against Mike White. Like I just feel like a dummy. So I'm gonna go with Gonzaga. But I just wanted to make that point out there. Gonna roll with Clemson here. Like I mentioned, ACC semifinal lost in a close one to Louisville. I think this is a good spot for them to come out. Plus, I'm just not impressed with the Southland Conference. Like I get McNeese is good and Will Wade's a great coach, but you can only do so much. I'm gonna take Purdue and Braden Smith. This feels like a Braden Smith controls the clock game against High Point. I'm also gonna roll with Texas or Xavier. I'm gonna pick Texas probably to win. I like Texas, but either or, I'm going to take over Illinois. I just think that the Fighting Illini have been a little too inconsistent this year. Give me Mark Pope in year one to get a first-round win, something Cal struggled with at the end of his tenure. I like Mick Cronin, UCLA. Like I mentioned with Buzz Williams earlier, a guy that can light a fire under his team's butt and make them compete. Like Jake said, they did struggle. No will to win, all of this, that, and the other. If I know a coach who has a great resume in March and can get his team to get off their butts, it is Mick Cronin and UCLA, and I am going to take Rick Barnes and Tennessee to get to the second round. I like Houston and Kelvin Sampson. I just think it's too much. Biggest thing about Houston is this is the best offensive team that Kelvin Sampson has had in the 5 years out of the 4 that I've picked them to win the national championship. They've always been a really good defensive team. The team doesn't lose on the road, which I think is a huge factor in why I'm very high on them in this tournament. It's just because I look at a team, they're playing in a very competitive conference, second best conference this year, the Big 12, and these guys did not lose on the road. So I really like the Cougars. I'm taking Clemson here. This is classic Purdue choke spot, and it's just not the same Purdue team as it has been, and I just don't like picking Matt Painter to go far in the tournament. I'm this is subject to change right now. I'm going to take Kentucky based off who wins this game, or if it's Illinois, obviously, but I do like Kentucky here. But if either one of these teams, whether it be Texas or Xavier, like I could see them in the Elite Eight taking on Houston. Yeah, I'm taking UCLA to beat Tennessee. I'm not picking Rick Barnes to go far. I can't. I'm going away from everything that I've said before this video started as far as the SEC. I'm picking the SEC. Yeah, it's the one exclusion when Rick Barnes is your head coach. Give me Houston over Clemson, and give me Kentucky and Mark Pope to the Elite Eight there. And I'm going to take the Cougars to make the Final Four out of the Midwest region. Actually, I'm going to take that. There we go.
Cool.
Big mistake with UCLA.
You made a lot of people in my
huge mistake
here happy, Hunter.
Oh, I just flipped that, actually. I'm actually taking UCLA to the Elite Eight.
Even worse.
Never mind.
I'm just kidding. I don't know. Subject to change. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. It's a hypothetical game. I think when I originally filled this out, I had Kentucky, so I'll probably just stick with that. But all right, moving on. Last one here. Gosh, can I get it right?
Kentucky getting the Sweet 16 is like when Kentucky gets to that spot in the season where they're 5-0, and then they play Georgia, and it's like oh my God, Kentucky's going to take down Georgia, and
Then
this year they did give us a good scare. That was a good game to be
very close, very close.
Lexington is a terrible city. I'm not in a hurry to be back. I can tell you that.
The West region.
I'd love to go to a basketball game though. There, I really would. The arena looks sick.
On the bucket list, Rupp Arena. All right, we got the West region here. Florida is the popular pick, the second most picked team to win the national championship behind Duke, and I think that just comes down to there's more Duke basketball fans than there is Florida fans. But everybody on ESPN is picking Florida. Everybody, the hottest team in the country. Spoiler alert, like I did with Auburn, buying stock when it's low. I'm going to sell stock in Florida eventually down the road. And this, as you'll see, UConn, Oklahoma, interesting matchup. Memphis, Colorado State. Colorado State favorite as a 12 seed by 2.5 over Memphis right now. One of the key players from Memphis is out for that game, and I think that is a big reason why. GCU can beat Maryland. It is possible out there. Drake can beat Missouri. Like, this could be chaos straight up. The only one that I just feel confident in is that Texas Tech is going to run UNC Wilmington out of the freaking gym. Like, I don't think that game's going to be competitive at all. And then all-time coaching matchup, Bill Self versus John Calipari. I mean, does it get any better than that? As a 7 and a 10 seed, you had told me 3 years ago that these two teams would be a 7 and a 10, and that even Coach Cal is going to be at Arkansas. I told you were crazy. And then obviously the legendary, the GOAT, better than Coach K. I don't care what you say. Rick Pitino holding it down at the bottom, taking on Omaha in the round of 64. What intrigues y'all the most?
I would say this is my favorite region by far. All of these matchups are very intriguing.
I agree.
Florida, obviously, they're hot, and I mean they're playing a nobody. They're the hottest team in the country, like you said. UConn, Oklahoma, it's obviously Hurley. They're trying to get back on the three-peat. The Jeremiah Fierce, I mean, he's balling. I mean, this kid can take over at any point. Memphis, Colorado State, we've already talked about that a few times. That's intriguing. Grand Canyon has a serious chance to beat Maryland with Maryland's lack of depth. And Missouri, Drake, everybody's on Drake. That's one of the biggest Cinderella stories that everybody has right now. Texas Tech, Grant McCasland. He's one of my favorite coaches in the tournament. I am extremely high on Texas Tech. I think they run UNC Wilmington out of the building, like you said, Hunter. And then you at the bottom of the bracket, you got the all-time coaching matchup with St. John's. With Kansas and Arkansas, and then the winner of that, hopefully, obviously, probably going to play St. John's. So this is my favorite region by far. Probably the hardest for me to choose from too. I don't know if y'all would agree, but this was the hardest one for me by far, all the way through, not just the first round. I mean, none of us are going to have a perfect bracket, but even like when you get to the Sweet 16, from the beginning to each round, it's like, damn, dude, this could go. Like, there's 16 teams. Shit, outside of 3 teams, I wouldn't be surprised if any of them made a run to the Elite Eight. Seriously. I'm very intrigued by this region.
This region's going to be awesome to watch for sure.
Yep. So,
Tyler?
Yeah, this is where my bracket gets a little chaotic. I've got some maybe controversial picks, but I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's March, and as Jake said, any one of these teams really could make that run. So I don't think they'll be as controversial as they may sound at first. But this is a great region.
Nick?
Yeah, no, I think all really well said. I totally agree. I think this is definitely going to be the most exciting region. I know you touched on it already, but like, how much better could that get? You get this Bill Self, John Calipari matchup to most likely face Rick Pitino in the second round. I mean, with all the history with those guys, obviously, national championship level coaches, it doesn't get better than that. If that's the biggest bracket rigging story, is how that all came together. I don't care about the UNC thing. Like somebody made that little matchup happen. I'm sure that'll be good for ratings. And yeah, super exciting region. Looking forward to it.
Awesome, man. All right, Nick. You're up first here. Let's all right, get it up. All right. So we got right here. All right. Whenever you're ready, sir.
Cool. So we are going to roll with the Florida Gators. Should be a cruise to victory there. Going to take UConn over Oklahoma. Deliberated on that one a little bit. Going to take Colorado State, the favorite, over Memphis. Think they're a little overvalued. And then I'm going to go the other direction on this one. I'm going to take Maryland to beat Grand Canyon. This is another tricky one. Going to take Missouri to roll over Drake. Just watch Mizzou all year. I think they're a super talented team and they're super hungry. And then I'm going to take TTU over UNC Wilmington to advance there. This is going to be an outstanding game, like we discussed. Going to take Arkansas on the upset pick. I just like Kansas basketball. Kansas is like what the Phoenix Suns are in the NBA right now. It's just like the talent's there, but they're just like they don't really want to be there, and they haven't been playing good basketball of late. I don't want to pick them, and then I'm going to take the Johnnies over Omaha, rolling on to the second round. Rolling to the next round, I'm going to take Florida over the Huskies. The two-time defending national champ run ends now, in my opinion. And then I'm going to take the Terps over Colorado State. I think this could be a really good game. I like Colorado State, but I like Maryland as well. Talk about another outstanding game. This is going to be an awesome one. I'm going to lean Texas Tech here. I like Mizzou a lot, like I mentioned, but I think we're all pretty high on Texas Tech. I think St. John's is probably on upset alert here. I'm going to take them to roll, but this would be. I would be shocked if this isn't a close game. I just think this would be a super exciting close game. But I'm going to take the Johnnies over Arkansas. So then moving on to the next round, I'm going to take Florida over the Terps. I think this would be a really good game. I think the challenge for Florida in this region, and I'm sure you guys will have opinions too, like having to go through this Maryland team, who's probably one of the best 12 or 15 teams in the country, then potentially having to go through either Texas Tech or St. John's. Like this is a tough path compared to what some of the other one seeds have to do, but going to take them to hang on in that game. As tough as it is for me, I'm going to take Texas Tech over St. John's. Little concerned, just with the size in the front court of St. John's. I think they may be in a little bit of trouble. I think the toughest thing with them is they're just putting pressure on the ball the entire game. They're really trying to exhaust you. I just think Texas Tech is probably a little more talented, and I'm going to go with them. And then I guess my one, kind of less chalky thing here, I'm going to take Texas Tech to advance to the Final Four. I think this is a team that we've discussed for much of the year. A lot of us really like. They are a 3 seed, quote unquote, but in Ken Palm, Haslametrics, net ratings, a lot of these advanced metrics and efficiency ratings have them really as high as like a higher end 2 seed. And I think the toughest thing just for Florida is, like I mentioned, these are teams that could easily have been 2 or 3 seeds in Maryland and Texas Tech. I just think it's a super tough path, and like we saw with Auburn recently, you could be the best team in the country, but if you're constantly going through these top tier teams, it's just so tough to keep those winning streaks going forever. So I'm gonna fade Florida here.
I like it, Nick. I think Texas Tech's a great pick to come out of that region. I think it could be a numerous amount of teams, as we stated before. So, Mr. Vaughn, whenever I get it pulled up here. Does this look right?
Yep, that's me. All right, so I've got Florida beating Norfolk State. I've got UConn over Oklahoma. First upset, I'm going Colorado State over Memphis. And then I'm taking Maryland to beat Grand Canyon. I think it'll be close, but I've got Maryland there. I've got Drake beating Missouri. I like the Drake team. I think that they got a shot at a run. Texas Tech over UNC Wilmington. We've talked about that game. I've got Bill Self and Kansas moving on. Being in Kentucky for 4 years, I've learned that Coach Cal just cannot coach when it comes to March, and so not going with Cal. And then give me St. John's to beat Omaha. Then back up at the top, I'll take Florida over UConn. Like Nick said, I think that three-peat run comes to an end there. Give me Colorado State to beat Maryland. I think they're hot. I think they're going to stay hot. This is where my controversial pick is. I've got Drake beating Texas Tech. Again, any of these teams could do it. And I've got Drake moving on there. And then I've got the Johnnies beating Kansas. And then, hang on, I lost my place. Okay. So where I'm at. I've got Florida beating Colorado State. And then I've got St. John's beating Drake. I think the 1 and 2 out of this region. I think Florida is just. I think they're the best team in the country right now. They're hot, and I think St. John's and Rick Pitino can play well. And so in the Elite Eight, I believe I'm at. I've got Florida advance into the Final Four.
I like it.
Good stuff.
Mike was on mute. Sorry. Good deal, man. An 11 and 12.
Yeah, come on.
How about that? Man, I can't wait to see Colorado State beat Florida in Jake's bracket. I know it's coming, so.
All right. Can y'all still hear me?
Yeah.
One of my AirPods just died. My bad. All right. So I have Florida being Norfolk State to start out. And then I have UConn beating Oklahoma. I think this game is going to be closer than people think, at least from what I've seen. I have Nick Clifford and Colorado State advancing. Grand Canyon takes down Maryland. I'm going to stick to that. Missouri beats Drake. Texas Tech, we already talked about that one, against UNC Wilmington. And then I actually switched this right before we started the show. I had Kansas at first. But I'm going to take Calipari. I'm kind of high on Arkansas right now. Boogie Fland's healthy. They got a 7'2" or 7'3" center. John L. Davis, he's been healthy all year. The FAU transfer, he's a good guard and facilitator who can handle the ball. So I'm going to take Arkansas to win that. And then St. Johnny's to beat Omaha. And then in the round of 32, I had UConn beating Florida, but Florida's just too hot right now. So Florida takes down UConn. And then the best matchup of the round of 32, Colorado State versus Grand Canyon. I think this veteran-led Grand Canyon team gets it done, and Grand Canyon advances to the Sweet 16 after getting knocked out in the round of 32 last year. And then I have Texas Tech moving on, beating Missouri in the round of 32. And then nobody else is going to do it, so I'm going to do it. Like Nick said, St. John's on upset alert here, regardless of who they play. Give me Calipari and the boys to advance to the Sweet 16 and take down Pitino. So that leaves me with Florida, Grand Canyon, Texas Tech, and Arkansas. Grand Canyon, I have their run ending here, so Florida advances. And then I have Texas Tech, one of the teams I'm highest on in the bracket, with JT Toppin. And that squad, so I have them beating Arkansas, and then I have Florida and Texas Tech matching up in the Elite Eight, and I have Texas Tech moving on to the Final Four. Y'all like that?
Yeah, that was
y'all like that little St. Johnny's upset? It's coming. It's coming. I've made up my mind. It's happening. It's happening. They're upset watch. Too good to be true. Too good to be true.
It's gonna be a good game if it happens.
Yeah. All right, Hunt. What you got?
All right, so I'm going to take Florida over Mike Vick State at the 116 matchup. I'm going to take Oklahoma over UConn. Danny Hurley's a wuss, and he really pisses me off, and I think the SEC just gets it done. Colorado State over Memphis. They're favored for a reason. Memphis was the key player out. Can't remember the guy's name. I'm going to take Dairy Queen and Maryland to beat Grand Canyon. Give me Missouri over Drake. It's too popular of a pick. I think Mizzou's just got the shooters, and I don't think Drake's going to be able to keep up with the tempo. Like, they just play two completely opposite types of basketball. I've already talked about Texas Tech. I'm going to take, I'm conflicted. This game's in pencil regardless, because I'm conflicted between, do I just keep riding with the SEC? Like, I know how dominant they've been this year. But, I feel like Bill Self, he needs this, man. Like with how bad it was with the fans gunning for his head after that loss to Texas Tech at home, losing to West Virginia at home. Just like I feel like Kansas needs this. They were preseason number 1, and now they've fallen down to a 7 seed. And you'd think the cornfields are about to erupt in Lawrence, Kansas. With that being said, and John Calipari, man, he just can't. I don't know. Give me Kansas. I'm gonna take Kansas. Give me St. John's over Omaha. Y'all know I like to glaze Rick Pitino. I'm going to take Florida over Oklahoma. Not a lot to be said there. I'm going to take Colorado State to the Sweet 16. I haven't had a big-time team do that yet, or a small school do that yet. So I just think Maryland's depth catches up to them early. Plus, I don't like Kevin Willard. I think he's an overrated coach at Maryland. Gosh, this Texas Tech Missouri game, if this potentially happens, like, could be game of the tournament. I know Nick kind of hinted on that already, but I want to take Mizzou. I don't like Mizzou at all. I've been up there one time for a football game, and like I hate them so much. But I'm gonna take Texas Tech here. I do want to take Mizzou, but I can't bring myself to do it. Give me Rick Pitino and St. John's. Like Kansas, they're too dysfunctional. They're not consistent enough. I do like St. John's to move on. I like Florida and the Elite Eight. And then Texas Tech, St. John's, another game that I think if it happens, this would be really, really entertaining. I'm just going to keep going with coaching here. Give me the Johnnies, 1-2 matchup here in the Elite Eight. And I'm going to sell my stock on Florida right here. I like Rick Pitino a lot. It is not too good to be true, Jake. This team is very good. Jakari Richmond, an absolute bucket. They're so good. They play very fundamental basketball. They play as a team. And I think Rick Pitino's going to find a way to get it done and get the Johnnies to the Final Four in San Antonio. All right. Well, we've all gotten to the Final Four. We've almost been going for 2 hours. Tired as hell.
Can't wait to edit this one.
I don't have a slide for the Final Four, so we'll just pull.
If you're still with us, you're a real one. I mean, come on. That's awesome. If you're still with us, we appreciate it. That's all. I just want to put that out there. So hopefully we get this out in time for everybody to listen to it at least before Thursday.
It's live.
Tyler,
so it'll be there.
Oh,
we're live right now. Like this is on YouTube as we speak.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, well, we had one F-bomb, so we're good, man. All right. Nick, we are going to get your Final Four pulled up here, and you're going to tell us who's winning the national championship. All right. So you have Auburn versus Texas – excuse me, Auburn versus Texas Tech and Duke versus Tennessee. Tell me who you got on the left side first.
Yeah, I'm gonna roll. I'll keep it pretty short and sweet here. I'm gonna roll with Auburn here. I know we've discussed it extensively until a week and a half ago. I think all of us would have said they're the best team in the country, no question. And like you said, buying some stock in them here. And I feel the same way about Duke. I'm going to advance Duke to the national championship. Again, I'm trying to stay away from the recency bias. I again, up until a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, I would have said no question, these are the best two teams in the country. I felt that way all year, similar to like UConn and Purdue last year. That's how I think a lot of us felt. That's what ended up happening. I'm not going to go away from that. And in that same spirit, I'm going to take the Auburn Tigers here to win the national championship. You could go through this team. You have, more so veteran guys leading the team like Janai Broom, who, may end up winning the Wooden Award. You have younger guys like Jahan Pettiford, who's been absolutely outstanding. I think this team's super deep, super well coached. And I think a couple of those recent losses in a weird way may help them, kind of like, not to the same extent, but like OSU in college football, that Michigan loss actually kind of, lit a little fire under them, propelled them to kind of the top of college football. I think Auburn may kind of have that same thing happen. So War Eagle just this one time, and I think Auburn wins it.
Good deal, man. I like that a lot. Mr. Vaughn, you are up next. Let's see what we got here. We have Michigan State taking on Florida and Alabama taking on Houston. He got Tyler.
Yeah, so like I said earlier, I think Florida's playing the best basketball in the country right now. I'm going to take them to roll to the Natty. And then I think Alabama's run ends here back-to-back years. They get to the Final Four, can't get it done. I've got Houston there. And in the Natty, I've got Florida beating Houston in a tight one. I've got the Gators winning it all.
Wow, just like everybody else on ESPN.
Yep.
Is it funny, Jake? All right, this one is the one I'm most interested to hear. I can't
All
wait.
right, so if you haven't been able to tell, my Elite Eight, you can't really zoom out, but it is the Big 12 SEC Invitational. I noticed this when I filled it, like after I filled it out. My Elite Eight is all Big 12 and SEC teams. I think these are the dominant conferences in college basketball right now. The Big East kind of had a down year. And the ACC, obviously, outside of three teams, Clemson, Duke, and Louisville, kind of weak. So I think the Big 12 and SEC, that's how it was drawn out, and I like it. I'm going to stick with it. Starting on the left side, I love Texas Tech. I'm very high on McCasland and what he's building at Texas Tech. But Auburn, man, like we've talked about it all night, they are the most talented team in basketball right now. Their athleticism, their size, their shooting, Pettiford, Baker Mazzara, Janai Britton. They play defense. They get after it. And Bruce Pearl is a hell of a coach. So I have Auburn advance to the national championship. And then this was a tough one for me, Arizona versus Tennessee. I'm going to roll with Arizona. Moving forward, Caleb Love, he's been close. He got to one and lost it. In his college career, I feel like he's been in college for our whole life. I feel like we've been watching him for years now. I think this is his 5th year, but I have Arizona and Auburn matching up in the national championship. And like I said, man, it's tough to pick against Auburn right now. I know a lot of people are down on them, lost 3 out of 4. So I'm going to take Auburn to win the national championship. This is the most confident March Madness pick I have ever had, and I am so excited for it. I think that they are going to run through this bracket. I'm pumped for it. So yeah, that's who I got.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Gosh, it's late. I
think we do have a few YouTube viewers. I didn't know we were live. I texted the boys and told them to tune in. So I think we have 2 YouTube viewers. Everybody's staying up with us, man. Love it.
All right. So I have Auburn taking on St. John's and Duke taking on Houston. I've already decided on a narrative in my brain. We're in San Antonio. I'm going to paint the scene here for my boy Jake Stinchcomb. Actually, I'm going to pull him up on the screen before I make this pick. So we're in San Antonio, Alamo Dome, wherever the hell this is getting played at. It's late in the game. It's been a slugfest. Pitino's been able to, contain the outside. The big man, number 55 or whatever for St. John's, can't remember his name. He's holding Broome to his own. It's getting late, and next thing you know, there's about 45 seconds left on the clock. St. John's guard goes up, and you just see Chad Baker Mazzara whack him right in the freaking mouth. Technical foul. You can't stick a piece of pine straw up Rick Pitino's butt because his team sucks at making free throws. The guy nails both, puts him ahead by 4. St. John's wins and goes to the national championship because Chad Baker Mazzara could not keep his act together. Duke versus Houston. Like I've mentioned in the past, I've picked Houston to win the national championship 4 of the last 5 years, and they've made 1 Final Four during that entire time. This is the best offensive team Kelvin Sampson's had. But my gosh, I'm tired. I'm tired of picking Houston. They always fail me. I think Cooper Flagg's going to be healthy. I like Duke to advance. And if there's one team that Rick Pitino just can't beat, it is the Duke Blue Devils. And it pains me to say I don't like Duke. They are very annoying. not the biggest fan of the Blue Devils, but they've been playing like an NBA team. They look like the best team to me all year long. I know they've played in the weak conference, but they're blowing teams out. It's not like they've been barely winning like Miami football was. So I am going to take Duke over St. John's in the national championship, and Cooper Flagg cements his legacy as the best player in Duke history.
Good deal. I like it. I'm excited. Can't come soon enough, man.
Yeah. With that being said, I think Nick's probably got the best bracket.
Not historically how that goes, man. Usually it's you end up in like the 22nd percentile or something. That's my experience. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, Braylon's has a better bracket than all four of us.
That's how it goes, man. That's how it goes.
She did fill one out. I'm not able to see her picks yet, but we got a little pool with the family, and Braylon did fill one out. And my little niece, she chose Yale to win the national championship. So
nice.
This is March, man. Anything can happen.
Yeah, my girlfriend filled one out, and I was like honestly shocked. I mean, this girl does not watch basketball at all. She had Auburn, Florida, Duke, and Tennessee in her Final Four. And she picked Tennessee over Auburn, and I was just like, "Do you watch basketball?" She's like, "No, just like I looked at the numbers. I guess
pick the ones and twos, man. That's
the ones and twos.
The ones and twos."
But man, this has been awesome. I've really enjoyed my time here with y'all this evening.
Yes, sir.
Let's get this up there. Jake, I'll let everybody kind of sign off, and I'll let Jake close out. Any little last points here anybody needs to add?
No, I just want to say thank you guys for having me on. Had a lot of fun. Love talking hoops, and yeah, very excited for Thursday.
I think the four of us need to come back after the first weekend and get back
Part
on
2
and just review the games that happened and look at the Sweet 16 matchups.
A little deeper.
Then after the second weekend, we look at the Final Four.
Yeah.
I'm going to hold you to that because every time we say that, we don't film for the next 3 months. So
that's a good point. It's kind of like it's after a long night out. Georgia played at 3:30 that day. 7:30 the game ends. You go downtown. You stay out all night. You get home at 2 a.m. and the next morning you wake up. Everybody's just tired, exhausted. You all sit down in the living room or over a good plate of Waffle House and you debrief the night. And I think that's what we should do over the first round. I'm excited for it. I mean, a 2-hour episode. We got to debrief what goes on this weekend. I'm pumped. I am very excited for this week. So,
heck yeah, I appreciate you guys, and thank you for everybody who either tuned in live or is going to watch later. We appreciate you guys too, and I'll let Jake close us out here.
Awesome. So, all our episode tonight I think it should be released on YouTube immediately if I stand corrected. And then Apple Podcasts and Spotify should be released tomorrow, depending on when Tyler and Hunter can get it out. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Hunter, for making this happen. Fixing these beautiful slides you had prepared for us. Thank you, Tyler, for doing our producing, getting everything sent out on all of our platforms. And Nick, good to have you. Nick, certified ball knower, everybody. If you're going to tell anybody any picks, tell Nick Pachia, ball knower, man, and hopefully not only have you back for the debriefing of this weekend, but NBA playoffs. The NBA starting to heat up.
Oh, yeah.
If I know Nick Pachia more than if I know Nick Pachia, he is an NBA ball knower, lover. Hunter might not come on for that episode. It might just be me, Tyler, and Nick. But, Hunter, you can at least sit in and watch. But we got NBA playoffs coming up, man. Heating up. So,
good stuff.
That being said,
hang on. The Celtics, they're good, right? They won the championship last year. They got to be good.
Yeah.
The Thunder,
you got it already, man.
The Cavs. I'm just going based off what I saw on Jake's TV screen back in February.
Regular season merchants.
The New York Knicks.
I don't think so, man. I don't think so.
Golden State. Golden State still got Steph Curry, right?
Always.
Okay.
Yeah, been playing good.
Here, I just named 5 teams. We're good. All right.
All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. That's podcast 129 episode. We don't have a clue, probably 19 or 20 at this point. So.